What does it mean to be Australian today? What did it mean 50 years ago? Is there a moment when you realize a whole nation can go through an identity crisis? These questions might seem simple. The answers are anything but. Identity is a complicated matter. Whether personal or national, it's full of nuances. Now, Australia went through its own transformation. We've been untangling ourselves from some pretty thick historical knots. Gone are the days of the white Australia policy. And what happens next? Well, that's up to us.
Girl in a Million, Barbara Porritt, and Migrant 1,000,001 husband Dennis arrive in Melbourne. The end of a 12,000-mile voyage to their new home. She is officially the 1 millionth migrant since the war. Aboard the Oronce, 50 press, radio and newsreel men literally mark the Yorkshire land.
I think is the identity, Australian identity, start from the white Australian policy.
Prior to the 1980s, early 70s, a lot of people from countries like China or Thailand or Middle East weren't allowed to come here. There was the White Australia policy.
There's a significant gap between the white Australian policy and multicultural policy. The multicultural people is not really recognized.
You know, when you have 90%, 80 to 90% of the population is English-speaking, European background, white, you're going to have a dominant thinking about that.
16 new settlers of the right type. The Stalenbergs are mighty welcome.
Initial multicultural policy is assimilation. So if you are coming to Australia, migrated to Australia, you should be the Australian. So you're not speaking other language, you're speaking in English.
You have to be where you are in your house, but outside your house, you have to speak English and you have to be like everyone in the Australian way.
On the street, I would experience racism. I would see others experiencing racism. Even at school, I would experience it on a daily basis.
The Hispanic Society held a fiesta at the home of the Brazilian consul Carlos Solape in Sydney, a welcome to Spanish-speaking migrants. And
in terms of the shift and its influence on today's identity, I think it's absolutely crucial. It's not a seismic shift. It wasn't all of a sudden. It was incremental.
So when I arrived here to Australia, wow, it took about 1 or 2 years for me to find the first person that speaks Spanish or speak a totally different language.
I remember being asked, what's your nationality? And I think it was a genuine interest, or I'm sure maybe they needed it for their paperwork. But that word itself confused me. What's my nationality?
The majority of the people are just ignorance. That's not, pure discriminator. It's only they don't know who we are.
There was lots of research done on, diversity, lots of people working on education, providing lobbying on issues like equality, anti-discrimination, gender, intersectionality, whole range of things that were incremental, and it's still going on.
So Australia's evolving identity makes me feel very, very hopeful for the future. I think with each generation, less and less discrimination occurs. With each generation, they're more educated.
So much difference, so much progress in my eyes, so that I believe we can achieve.